Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.10.1 in my next small step RP-1 career mode playthrough. We have here on the pad Edward Walters, Christine Adams, Inessa Bogolyubova. We are headed up to the moon. We are going directly to the lunar outpost that is on the surface there, the name of which shall be revealed once we arrive. 3 seconds until ignition. And the 4 F-1A engines roar to life. And yeah, I have updated this. This is my Saturn 4, or Paladin 4, which is just so slowly crawling off the pad using just the 4 F-1A engines. Trying to skimp a little bit on the cost on this one, I guess. But yeah, this is the version of the Paladin. This is my Paladin 4 that has just the 4 F-1A engines. I'm trying to update things and streamline stuff because the thrust-to-weight ratio on this thing, if I had all 5 F-1A engines on this otherwise normal Saturn V type stack, was going to be way too high. So I needed to I'm kind of trimming things down and moving things around a little bit. Yeah, so with everything else on the way, we are like finally able to fast forward a little bit and move things along. We only have a couple more missions that are underway, so I'm hoping that we can actually get some tech completed so that we'll be able to do some different and more interesting stuff in the future, although the unlocks that we have so far are already very exciting. So this is Apollo 8, the moon base crew. Apollo 9 is already ready to go. I'm just waiting for the astronauts to finish their training regimen in another 26 days, and then that'll be ready to go. We have stage separation, and we are continuing on up, and the boost protective cap has released. So yeah, Apollo 9 is ready to go. That's just going to be a crewed targeted moon landing, the last of those contracts, I think. I think we just have a certain number of those that we can do. I want to say that that's the last one, but I'm not 100% sure. But oh yeah, that's the one that we screwed up. That's the one that had, or maybe it was the one without enough crew, maybe? No, it doesn't look like it. But anyways, we'll be able to complete that with Apollo 9, and then after that, as far as missions are concerned, we have another test of the RD-57 engine, and then finally the real launch of Voyager Mercury, which is not going to be going as soon as it looks, because that's not going to be until the Mercury transfer window in 86 days. I'm actually ahead of things for once. And then after this stuff builds, actually it's building now, we have another caustic solar back. So I'm going to do another attempt at the Venus rover mission, because I still have that contract and I don't think I'm about to fail it. So I should probably check that before this thing launches. But yeah, so those are the things that I have underway at the moment. I'll probably come up with more crewed missions once I get my stuff together as far as the technology that I have available to me and what all we can be working on there. So the S4B has fired up, and we are on our way now into a good orbit. But yeah, so the missions that we have, I'm kind of keeping an eye on the new missions that we're unlocking as we're doing these milestones. So the milestone is now up to 90 days in 90 days crewed in orbit, and then we also have a record of 5 crew, which fine. At that point, it's actually getting to the point where I could either do just a quick little Saturn 1B or Paladin 3C, whatever it is. Man, I can't keep track of my acronyms because I'm trying to keep track of both Saturn and my own Paladin. But anyways, the Paladin that's low Earth orbit for Apollo missions can, in theory, like I was saying before, fit 5 crew onto the Apollo Block 3 command module. So I could just knock that out, but whatever. Like, I don't know, right? Like, we could really go either way. We could either do that, or we could like dock 2 Apollos together at a station or something. Like, that might be fun as well. I don't know. So yeah, that's it. And then we've got a bunch of interplanetary missions for Mars, Mercury, Saturn, Venus that we have missions underway for. So everything is kind of moving. Everything's moving right along. But remember, our goal is Mars and landing on Mars. So we need to be prepared to get to that. So we are ready to head to the moon, I think. So let's go ahead and just set up our transfer. Very, very simple. Nothing much to it, as per usual. But I just want to make sure that we're coming in the correct location. Alright, so remember, this is our moon-based crew. So we are set to try to rendezvous with Lunette Station as our first task on this mission. And that is where we are going to drop off one of our crew members to hang out while we are sending down the other two to the moon. So I think that it's going to be our engineer, Inessa Bogolyubova, is going to hang out on the Lunette Station, get it up and running, see if there's any repairs or maintenance that needs to be done. There's not, but you know, it seems kind of fun to role play. And then Christine Adams and Edward Walters are going to head down to the surface, ideally directly on our surface outpost. All right, the S4B has fired up and we are on our way out towards the moon. I wish that the numbers were working correctly here, but you know, that is what it is. So anyways, we are on our way, and yeah, so let's see, what else can we do, right? Like, I think the next thing, we actually just finished the research for the next level of basic nuclear thermal rockets. So we just finished that. I haven't actually unlocked the node, so I haven't really done I haven't done much analysis of them yet, but pretty soon I'll be taking a look at that. But anyways, there is the level of nuclear thermal rockets that we're getting to at this point are getting pretty good. They're getting pretty good, but they're mostly designed for stuff that is kind of kept in orbit for a very long time, like shuttles between places, just very large vessels that are either reused or they're what do you call it? Used for like super long haul missions, right? Like out really far away and then back and that sort of thing. And that's exactly what we're looking for to set up a crewed mission to literally anywhere. So I'm thinking that that might be the avenue that we take and really focus our research on for our crewed missions, because that is kind of cool. So what I'm thinking we're going to end up wanting to do is something like a Mars or Venus crewed flyby. That seems to be kind of like the first big thing, big step that we can take with our crewed program, and that would get us basically every every crewed duration record that we could possibly think of. I really don't know how far up those go, but that'll get us a ton of cash. All right, we are just finishing up this burn. Stop it. Stop. I don't know what just happened there, but we are rotating around. Alright, and so we've got a pretty bad intercept because of whatever the hell that was, so we're gonna get this fixed here in a moment. I'm basically just waiting until we're out in the sun. Let's see, we got one ignition left on this thing and plenty of Delta V. Alright, so I decided to just use RCS to get this, and what we're just going to do is just put the S4B on an impact trajectory of the moon, because we don't need it anymore. Just make sure that I'm not breaking anything with this. Alright, looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use crew manifest now that I know, or ship manifest now that I know that I have that, to make sure that I've pushed all my liquid oxygen and aerosine up to the command module. Alright, transfer complete. Let's go ahead and separate the vessel and prepare to do the flip around maneuver. Oh no, looks like we've got a little bit of rotation on the S4B stage, so it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, it's just a couple fractions of a degree per second. It's definitely nothing like you might see in For All Mankind or Interstellar or whatever. It's not a big dangerous maneuver. So yeah, so we'll get this linked up, and then we will be on our way. But yeah, so nuclear thermal propulsion. I'm really excited to start digging into it and seeing if it's actually worth all that I hope it is, because like if this was regular KSP, that would be the move right now, because it's just so much more efficient. And if I can build something that I can like refuel with liquid hydrogen up in orbit, that would make just a humongous difference in my ability to send out a really good amount of mass places. It looks like we've got a beautiful sunrise. And yeah, and so the actual thing that is the real big that, and we are on our way. So yeah, the thing that is the big game changer on this is the fact that we just got radiators. And so I have my first vessel with radiators, as I've mentioned before, that is building and underway. And that's really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to being able to staging's all messed up. But I'm really looking forward to being able to send out things with cryogenic propellants on long duration missions so that we can actually go places. So I think that is going to be how we are going to do things like send crew out past Venus and Mars and so forth on long duration missions. It's probably going to be nuclear thermal propulsion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the test that I have coming up of my first module with that, so I can just see just how much I can rely on the radiators, because I've heard that it turns like days of lifetime for cryogenic propellants to years, and that would just be so beyond fantastic if that was actually the case. If I can reliably get like just arbitrary length of time, not forever maybe, but arbitrary lengths of time with my cryogenic stages, then I think that is going to really change a lot about how we are able to do stuff and where we're able to go and what missions we're able to accomplish. I think there's almost no limit to what we can do if we can use the incredibly efficient cryogenic propellants. Alright, I'm just making sure my staging is not terribly messed up here, because this is not looking awesome to me right now. Alright, so we are on our way. We already have a node for when we hit the sphere of influence, so nothing left to it but to get underway. Alright, look at how good that is. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we have entered the sphere of influence of the moon, and I am just making our plans for our rendezvous, and it's just so easy that I'm just so happy. So yeah, we should be able to meet up just fine. The problem is, it looks like the Apollo moon base is now way the heck down there. So that's gonna be an interesting trip down to the surface and back up. Huh. I think I underestimated the rotation and the effect of the latitude at which I landed on where this would end up with relation to the orbit of Lunette station. So, this is going to be challenging. Especially because I have to go down so far to dock with Lunette station in the first place. That's coming around, but I really have no idea how I got it in my head that this was going to be something that I could do from Lunette station. I swear it wasn't this far south when I... And like, as I was coming in, it rotated around this way, so it's always been at that latitude. Am I just like completely misremembering how this worked, how this happened? Am I just completely forgetting my own content? That sounds about right. It sounds like something I would do. So yeah, we're coming into orbit. And we've got a couple challenges that I am now thinking of that I'm not sure. One of which I definitely don't know. Like, I definitely thought that I had sorted. Like, I was almost certain that I was going to be able to make it to the Apollo moon base without any issue from Lunette station. Like, I honestly thought that was something that I'd already handled. But it very much looks like that is not the case, so we're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. The next thing is I'm not sure how I'm going to dock with Lunette Station without just kind of abandoning the LEM for a moment here. Like, I can't just like dock with Lunette Station and just like hang out. I'm actually going to have to like undock with this, dock the Apollo module to Lunette Station, then transfer the crew over that way. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge also. Because mostly just because the LEM will drift, right? Like that's the worry there. All right, so let's see if I can't fix up this rendezvous one way or the other. All right, so we'll fix that on the way around, but now we are just orbiting once around the moon and just kind of like willing the moon base to a better location. And as we come up on the descending node, we make a little plan to do just a little bit of a burn, and that will get us into a perfect intercept with Lunette Station. Okay, it took a full extra minute to actually get to this point at the node. So I'm just going to use RCS to try to get this down, which shouldn't be too bad. Alright, got us fairly close. So now we're just kind of sliding on up, and I'll fix the rest of it when we are just about there. Like so. So we are going to just target relative velocity negative and prepare to intercept with Lunette Station. Alright, we are just about ready to fire up the engine to intercept with our target. Lunette Station is hurtling nearby, and we are braking into orbit right next to it. And I'm just going to just twitch just a little bit off to one side to give us, hopefully, a little bit better separation. Just bring us in a little bit closer. All right, we are just about there. Just a few hundred meters away, nice and safe distance. There we go. I'm not super stressed about getting there super quickly. What I want to do is I do need to get there, but like we need to figure out what the hell we're going to do to get down to the surface base, and it's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit challenging. So I may just get us a little bit close, see what we can do as for docking, and then we will I'll do some planning and thinking about that. Alright, in just 10 minutes we will be at a separation of 50 meters. Alright, we are just nearby, so I am just using RCS to kind of break into our near zero relative velocity. There we go, that's pretty damn close. So yeah, now what the heck is my plan? So let's see. Let's take a look at Lunette Station. It's got 3 of these docking ports, 2 drogues, and then 1 just regular one. So yeah, what I would have to do is I would have to actually undock from the LEM, translate over, dock with this, and then reverse that maneuver once the crew has been deposited. Which is not like the best thing in the world to do, but it's also probably fine. But the trick then is figuring out what we can do to get down to the moon base. So it's really just a matter of we will eventually be perhaps in the correct orbit based on the rotation of the moon, but I'm going to have to wait for it to rotate around, and it does not rotate terribly quickly. All right, so I went in and I took a look at the actual rotation of the moon here, and I see what I've done. This is actually on a fairly low inclination. I think this right here is actually probably Shackleton Crater, that South Pole location of the moon base in For All Mankind, because this is the place around which we are rotating. So this is low enough that it's actually going to kind of swing around, and there is going to be a moment where it is actually, it'll swing around across around the bottom, rotating around this way, and then it'll actually cross this line here for just a moment, and then it's going to dip all the way back down to the southern to south below the orbit of the moon base because of great plans on my part is mostly what it is. Because I did not understand inclinations as it related to latitudes on the surface. So what that means is that we are 100% going to need to park our astronauts inside Lunette Station for a little while, because not doing so is going to kill us, because we do not have enough power and resources to keep running on the Apollo architecture for the amount of time that we are going to have to wait in orbit before we even get to split up and head down. So that is unfortunately going to mean that I'm going to have to leave the LEM in orbit near Lunette Station, and then I'm going to have to go chase it down again once the right number of days have passed. And I think it's about a week away from the proper part of the rotation of the moon, which is unfortunate. But that's kind of what I've gotten myself into at this point. So let's see what we can do. My relative velocity to Lunette Station is as zeroed out as it can possibly be, but there's still just that teeny tiny bit of drift that there's just nothing that I think I can do about. So yeah, there's just not much else that I can do to not have to chase this darn thing down. But well, we're leaving it in as good of a spot as we possibly can. All of my instruments say that our orbits are zero. Like, everything is zero. Like, all of the relative everything is zero. I couldn't possibly get any closer. I couldn't possibly match our velocity any more than I already have. Like, my instruments are not sensitive enough to tell me in what direction we are drifting by millimeters apart, enough to make us desynchronize our orbits over the course of days. So, nothing I can do there. So what we're going to do now is we are going to undock. Oops, we're going to need to turn on the vacuum scrubber on here. Okay, everything okay? Yes, we do not have any more lithium hydroxide because I put it all on the moon, on the lunar lander, because the Apollo 8 has a vacuum scrubber, which I've realized I absolutely do have, and I have unlocked. There's no cheating there. The thing that I thought that I did not have was the advanced vacuum scrubber, which is in my next node. So we'll be able to deal with that then. All right, so I'm just going to hop over here, and I just want to make sure that we have, let's see, pressure and scrubbing. Start bringing that pressure up to a serviceable level so we don't kill any astronauts through explosive decompression. Got one of the proper docking nodes targeted. Now it's just a matter of doing a standard dock. All right, so very easy to line up. I just did it very, very slowly and made sure to. I just did a very slow translation and time warped a bunch, which is a little bit more realistic compared to just kind of going as fast as possible, which is my normal way of doing these sorts of things. Right, so we are lined up, and yeah, we are ready to dock and hang out for a good while. And it's going to be a couple of days, I think, until we are in a position where we can go chase down the LEM and then resume our mission. All right, we are traveling up at about 1/4 of a meter per second, but we are right on target. Time warped a little bit again, and now we're just backing off to just very slowly, very easily come in for our final dock with Lunette Station. Easy peasy. So let's make sure that we have power, first of all, because we want to turn off our fuel cells. Yep, so we need to rotate around so that we have good orientation, getting ourselves pointed properly towards the sun so that we get that good power exposure. 90%-ish is just fine for me. Alright, so my next step is to point back at our lander. And now we need to make sure that we are halting all of our relative velocity compared to that as best as we possibly can. Because the more I do now, the less of a pain in the butt it's going to be to track it down later. There we go, we got it down to 0.0. Yeah, I just don't think that there's anything that I know how to do to get to zero out our relative velocity any more than I already have. It's already pretty low, but like we're looking at 0.0s in all directions. I just don't know what there is that I can do to make it any lower than that. So, we are going to drift apart this and that is just going to have to be okay. So we'll deal with that when the time comes, because this is absolutely necessary. Like, there's no way around this that I can think of. So I'm just going to move all of the crew over into, if I do it by vessel, I can do all of them at once. Select all, transfer all 3 crew into the habitation module so I can shut down the Apollo module, shut down all of our life support systems on there, and hopefully we will, survive. So, shut down those avionics so that I can just see the power usage. Yeah, that looks wonderful. Let's just make sure all of our... See, we got solar panels out, lithium hydroxide scrubber. We can turn that off because I'm using a vacuum scrubber on the Apollo module. Locks to Gox converter. That should still probably be necessary, unfortunately. N2 pressure controller. Fine, we'll save that, and O2 pressure controller is what we'll do there. Let's take a look. We have 85 days of liquid oxygen, a lot of years of liquid hydrogen, 6 days of oxygen, even though because we're catching up on the pressure control. Even though I turned that on a little bit early, there's still a drop in pressure, fairly significant, that probably killed everybody on board, but let's pretend that that's not a thing that happens. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be okay. We've got plenty of food, water, oxygen, everything else still on board. Oxygen is, once the O2 pressure controller has figured its shit out, that shouldn't be a problem. And we have enough liquid oxygen to maintain this anyways. So that is where we're going to leave that. And now I just need to see how long it's going to be until the base is underneath us. All right, so I took a look by switching over to the target, quick saving, and time warping ahead a really long time, and it looks like it's going to be 11 whole days before the base crosses. The base rotates around on the moon surface up into our orbit line, and then we should be able to land from there. And then I'm gonna have to do that whole process again and have like a launch window, but that's gonna be a lot easier to do because MacLeod PVG has that what do you call it? It has that launch into the plane of target, which I'll just be able to do, and that should be fine. But I'm going to have to be very careful about when that is compared to when this thing is actually in its correct location. So as soon as we touch down, I'm going to need to check and see how long it takes for the for something to cross into this. Like how many times per month does that actually happen? Is it like 30 days, 40 days, 20 days, 10 days? How long does it actually take? Well, it takes at least 11 for this to rotate around to the point where it is in the plane of our orbit. So that is something that I'm going to have to figure out, but I think it's safe enough for us to try to go ahead up to there and land. But we now have 11 days to wait, and then we are going to have to go grab our lunar module after that. what I think I'm also going to do while I'm at it is I think I'm going to send a resupply mission up to this station, like a little automated resupply filled with liquid oxygen and hydrogen and lithium hydroxide and all that other stuff, because why the hell not? Like, I've got the build line, and the crew are going to be here for a while, so there's no real reason to worry about that. About it, it's going to be useful for this particular mission, is what I'm saying. So I'll be able to send that, and then that will give us assurance that we are going to be able to get back home after this is done, which is real important. But that's where I think I'm going to leave this. I'm going to kind of leave you all on a cliffhanger on this one before we really commit to heading down to the surface. I'm going to just say 11 days there, and then we will the base will be rotated around, and hopefully that will be no problem at all. So if you enjoyed this episode, please let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.